Vacation was nice. We had a wedding Saturday before we actually left, which I thought was going to be something to our benefit, because I'm like, yeah, I'll have the whole day basically before, because the wedding wasn't until 4:00, so we would have to leave our house at like 3. So I'd have the whole day to get ready, and I'm like, oh, I'll clean the house and everything like that. Cleaned the house, and I used all of my time. So I was like, well, I'll just pack when I get home, forgetting that we had to like basically be up and on the road by 4-ish in the morning. We didn't get on the road till it was like 5:30-ish, I think it was, the next morning. But we got there, everything was nice. We found a nice local pizza shop that we went to not once but twice, because the pizza was so good. Even seriously contemplated buying a whole pizza to freeze and bring home, because I enjoyed it so much. But it was a lot of just like chill hangout vibes. I went we both went multiple times. One time I went on my own, even down to the ocean to just pick up seashells, because I have this like weird obsession with seashells. Yeah, 30-something-year-old dude just like, I like seashells.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zach Wright with Old Man Gaming. You, dear listener, for whatever reason, have decided to tune into another Horrible Gaming Podcast. We are back in full, and by in full, I mean that I am usually never alone. With me is
Neil, aka Tiny Wizard.
He is back from vacation. We are back doing this on the correct schedule. Not live. I almost said live, but we are back doing this on the correct schedule. So we're back. We're going to catch up on fan traction today from the last 3 episodes. We're going to catch up on some news and then call it. So welcome back, Neil. Well, I'm hoping you're recharged and everything. I do want to send a little thing out to everybody right now. The Horrible Game Awards this year, I have considered for a very long time whether I'm going to do them, just because of the schedule and whatnot. I have decided to do them. I am still up on the air as to whether I am going to be doing actual presenters or not, but we are going to do the Horrible Game Awards again this year.
It is wild that you bring this up, because I was outside earlier with the dogs and was just thinking like, podcasting, we're going to be doing that again. It's been 2 weeks since I've done it. And I'm like, we're really getting into that territory of when we would be starting to line that stuff up. So yeah, this will be interesting, because I feel like we could potentially do an evolution of it that would simplify things a little bit, but that's a behind the scenes conversation.
Yeah, it's really whether or not I want to, I know I don't like to cut things that involves our fans, but at the same time, it might just be easier to do it you, me, and get Phil Billy in here and just do it all through. I'm not exactly sure yet whether I'm willing to cut the fans out. I don't like cutting fan participation stuff, but the fan participation stuff definitely causes a lot of scheduling. When are you free? When is this free? When is that free?
It does turn into a gauntlet very quickly.
And my week nights right now are weird with the amount of stuff I am filming. So it's up on the air whether I'm going to have fan presenters or not. Other than that, we are going to do the Horrible Game Awards. I do want to say one thing to alleviate stress in scheduling and whatnot is I'm going to be doing the schedule a little bit more severe this year than I did previous years. So the cutoff for games that can be accepted will be the end of this month. It will be the end of October. We will cut it off at November. I am going to send the traditional you're in the committee message out. If you're in the committee, congratulations. If you're not, don't worry. We'll get you in there a different year, as long as we're still doing it, obviously. But I like to switch out members every so often just to keep everything fresh. So don't take any offense to it if you're not in there.
I wonder who's going to get my spot.
You're still in there. You're a foundation member. I'm not going to take the foundation members out. Freaking lunatic. But so what I want to do is so that the cutoff will be October 31st for games to be eligible in this whole thing, which makes things interesting. It makes it very interesting because I believe when does Dragon Age come out? Isn't that like
so? There's week? actually going to be a few. There's going to be Dragon Age. There's
the Veilguard, the big one.
The Veilguard, yeah. I can't remember when that's coming. I think that's that holiday this year, though.
Last week of this month, but I could.
Yeah, be wrong. There's that. I know Mario and Luigi Brothership was going to be something that was probably going to be in contention for me, but that doesn't come out until November 7th. Yeah. Who knows when that Like a Dragon Pirates in Hawaii game comes out, which, to be absolutely clear, it is most the not me game, but like just watching that trailer for that game and just seeing what it is, I'm extremely curious.
So Veilguard releases on the 31st.
Okay.
Which would be the last day it would be eligible. Obviously, if it's super good and everybody loves it, we'll probably consider it next year, even though it's one day off. But the reason I am doing this is I want to give myself 2 full months to go through the entire process of, well, not 2 full months. It would be like a month and 2 weeks because we usually get that out like week of Christmas or week before. Mm-hmm. So what I'd like to do is kind of take November to get through everything and then just have it ready for the December shows. But obviously the reason is the work that goes into it. So I'm going to give myself 2 extra weeks than I usually do. We usually do the cutoff the week of Thanksgiving, I want to say. Like the last 2 weeks of November is usually the cutoff. Then the first 2 weeks of December is when we record everything, and then we get it out somewhere in there. But we're also recording a bunch of other things in those first 2 weeks of December, like me, Neil, and Phil Billy doing the prediction show. We also do the year in review show, all that fun stuff. So Plus, we're doing a lot of actual plays and Let's Plays and stuff like that on the TTRPG side. So, some of that stuff will go on break. I'm pretty sure Astral Drive, as usual, will go on break in December, just like it did last year. But, I'm sorry, I've been talking for a really long time, and I don't need to. Basically, I'm giving myself more time to do this stuff so that we can have it ready to go in December, instead of, a mad scramble to get all the recordings and stuff in. So, with that in mind, the cutoff will be October 31st, and I will be sending out the email, the Discord message probably here pretty soon for the committee, okay? All of that out of the way, we're going to take a quick break after I thank the people who make this possible, and then we're going to be back with a big fan interaction. So, behind our ugly mugs, custom graphic provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then the theme song for this show and all shows here at Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Siders. We thank him for that. We'll be right back with fan interaction.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it brings us to fan interaction. We are a smaller show. We don't have a huge amount of people commenting. So we read out your comments. We talk about them. We have discussion, open discussion. Now, again, we did not read 3 weeks ago because the last 2 weeks were pre-recorded. So we haven't read 3 weeks ago. We haven't read 2 weeks ago. We haven't read last week. So we are going to go through all the fan interaction now, whatever it is. I haven't been keeping track, so I'm not even sure what we're in for, how many, and how much we're going to talk about them. And
it'll be a surprise.
Right. And then we're probably going to do a big news catch-up thing because, again, we have...
Lord howdy, there's a lot.
And there's been a lot of stupid stuff going on. So we're going to talk about that. But we'll get into fan interaction first. This was the fan interaction back on episode... Oh, if I can remember what episode it was... Oh, why did you do that?
Episode forever ago.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Where did it go? Oh, son of a bee sting. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Episode 254. Do you know? I was going to say, I think that was September 29th by the call log I'm looking at here. Yeah. All right, so they're all Jason. So Jason goes, I just want to know when Fortnite is going to collaborate with Fortnite.
I'm sure they're going to do at some point some sort of anniversary thing when it hits 10 years, going back through and collab with everything that they've had that's not a thing anymore. They all go back to the same well.
Over and over again. I mean, they've been to Marvel like twice now, right? 2 or 3 times?
Multiple times, yeah. Basically, anytime a new major Marvel thing happens, they'll just slap it in there.
Hey, man, Fortnite, there's some very dark and evil practices with Epic Games, but Fortnite is a games of service that continues to do what it says supposed to do, you know? So I can't really hate on them too much. Moving on, though. Jason, I haven't had a PlayStation since 2. They told me PlayStation 3 wasn't for me, so I haven't bought a PlayStation since. So I loved 2. 2 was my system. 2 I worshiped. 2 was my entire entertainment. It was before streaming, and like all of my movies, all of my shows, everything. When my PlayStation, my first PlayStation, I had the big brick one. When that one burned out, it finally burned out. Like the motor inside it would not spin the discs anymore. That's how much I use that thing. I had to go buy a Slim and still use that for a couple more years. PlayStation 2 was the shit. I would have stuck with PlayStation forever. I did not like the OG Xbox that much. It didn't look that interesting to me. My brother actually loaned it to me at one point in time, and I liked Halo at the time, and then everything else kind of sucked except for Fable. So, like, I don't know. Xbox didn't really do it for me, the OG Xbox. The reason I switched was the prices. PlayStation 3 was ridiculously overpriced and ridiculously sized. I feel like there was a lot of ego in that one that shouldn't have been there. And Xbox was like, let's undercut. They had the arcade edition. I don't know if anybody remembers that. There was the Xbox 360.
That's what I had.
There was the Xbox 360 Elite, and then there was the arcade edition, which were with a really small hard drive, but games weren't too big that you couldn't flip-flop-a-roo quite a bit. And I got the arcade edition. I think I actually still have it in this house up there. And
mine's upstairs.
Yeah, like, I mean, you could get it for... You get it for $300, like not even. I don't think. I think it was like $250 or something when it came out the gate. It was super cheap.
I believe I remember paying $300 because it was one of the first things that I bought whenever I came back from culinary school. I came back from culinary school, and my first paycheck over at Geauga Lake was what I used to buy my the arcade edition. It came with 256 megabytes of storage built into it, which was odd because up until that point you could really only use a hard drive. I had a memory card that was 256 megabyte as well, that I had whenever I was using my one friend's 360 up in college. And then eventually I had to spring for a 20 gigabyte hard drive, which is just laughable now.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I remember when I first went to Switch, I switched to Wii. It was the biggest mistake of my life. I've talked about this on here. I hated it. It was just the worst. And I sold it to somebody for some money I can't even remember what to get it for, what I sold it for money wise. But then they released Fable 2 on Xbox, and that was the thing that I was like, I really want to play Fable 2. So I went out, and I remember it was one of the few things that I charged on a credit card, and I bought an Xbox 360 and Fable 2. And it was cheap. It was easy to get. And then from then, I've been an Xbox person since, especially since Xbox then got Netflix first, which was a huge boon. And it ended up replacing my entertainment system, like the whole PlayStation 2 thing. It replaced that entertainment facility that I had. And then from that point on, I was an Xbox guy until I switched to PC. The other thing, too, is PlayStation got a little full of itself at that point. I mean, don't get me wrong. Xbox had its mistakes with the Xbox One reveal and that kind of nightmare. Yeah. But, like, I feel like PlayStation got full of itself at that point, and that's when they were, like, they kind of went a different road, whereas Xbox felt a little bit more like the common man's gaming system at the time. But, again, I hate them both now, so what do I know? What do I know? Continuing, Jason then says, I don't even know what a Boston cream pie is. You know what Boston cream is. It's got different names. It's like regionally named different. It might be custard where you are. It is a yellow kind of almost pudding-like goo that they fill donuts with that does not taste like lemon. It's not the lemon kind, but it's like a sweet flavor like that. I'm sure you've at least seen them before because they're everywhere. It's just they have different names everywhere. There's I don't know, the long cream sticks. You know what I'm talking about, Neil?
Mm-hmm.
They call them cream sticks here, and it's like a long donut with the cream through it. Right? It's not an actual cylindrical donut. In Michigan, where I grew up, they called them Long Johns. That's what they called them. They called them a Long John. So like, when I got down here and people would talk about cream sticks, I had no fucking idea what they were talking about. And when I would say I'd like a Long John, they'd be like, you want underwear? Like, they did not understand that I was talking about a donut because it's just regionally named. I feel like donuts have regional names everywhere. I mean, they can't even decide the spelling of the thing, for fuck's sake.
What's wild too, brief side tangent, because we're good for that sort of shit. Dunkin' Donuts, at least the ones over here, don't have them anymore. If you want a cream filled, it's just a normal round donut cream filled. I did get used to calling them Long Johns, because for some reason the maple ones were my favorite ones, and maple Long John just felt better to say than a maple cream stick. But yeah, I can't find them over here, and like French crullers are impossible to come by.
Oh yeah, French crullers are everywhere. I can't find those anywhere. Okay, and then finally Jason goes, I know a ton of people who play Pal World because modern Pokemon sucks, which is why I said it. Ooh, getting indignant there. I mean, that's fine if you know people that play it because Pal World sucks. I just don't get it. I've played both games, and there's nothing about Pal World other than cute creatures being enclosed in balls that makes me think Pokemon. Like, the battling is completely different. What you use them for is completely different. How you interact with them most times is completely different. It's not a monster collecting game to me. I mean, it just isn't. So more power to you, but it's just not, and more power to them, but it's just not, to me, it doesn't even replace that void. Like, it wouldn't, if I was like a person who was like, Pokemon sucks, I want to look for Pokemon, I don't feel like that would fill the void for me. I just don't.
I can see both sides of it. I personally would fall in the camp of, I don't like Pokemon, this is that other Pokemon adjacent thing, because they both kind of scratch the same itches, but one scratches other itches too, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like I said, I mean, if you are just in it for like collecting cute monsters, yeah, they both have that. I'm not gonna argue that. I just like the way you interact with that game. Like, I feel like Monster Hunter Stories is closer to Pokemon than Pal World is. Like, there's just so many other things out there that I would consider closer to Pokemon than Pal World in the way it plays, I guess, like genre-wise. Mm-hmm. But hey, more power to you. If it fills that void for you, that's nice. If it fills the void for them, I'm not arguing with them. It's just, to me, I don't understand the lawsuit in the way that, like, I mean, like, the lawsuit's a patent thing. We already talked about that here. It's not about that, but let's face it, Pokemon is going after them because they're a popular game with monsters that look similar to Pokemon, which is hysterical. There's like 14 Palworld copies now, which I was going to try and talk about in news, but I guess we could just talk about here. I don't know if you've noticed, Neil, but there is like 5 or 6 Palworld exact copies that have sprung up. One of them's on mobile. I think it's called like Maribou World Mobile or something like that, and it is Palworld. It is exactly Palworld. There's another one that I saw the other day. I cannot remember what it was called, but there's been a ton of these games pop up that are Palworld with Pokemon in them. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, Nintendo's always had that dealing with the copyright infringement sort of situation with their properties. I mean, they're known for just copyright strikes on like YouTube and everything like that. So I don't know why people would willingly draw the ire to themselves.
Here's the thing, and this is the facts. They couldn't get them on copyright, so every one of these other ones are like, oh, they didn't get them on copyright. They went after patent. All right, change how the ball works. We'll be fine. Nintendo, we can't violate the patent then. You know what I mean? Like now that they know that there's a way to do it without Big Bad Nintendo being able to come after them. Like, it's almost kind of a stupid mistake that Nintendo has made by doing this, because by Nintendo suing Palworld, they had to sue them with this patent thing, which means that like any smart person who has watched Nintendo over the last 2 decades go after anybody and everybody for copyright infringement when they can, sees that they're now going after these guys for patent infringement. You realize that, the only reason they're going after them for patent infringement is because they can't get them on copyright infringement, which means that what Palworld is safe. So now we can do it. We just need to make sure we don't violate the patent. You know what I mean? It's almost like Nintendo's lawsuit has given them a roadmap to make games in this space without Nintendo coming after them.
That is an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I can definitely see that then. I really want to know what's going to come of this lawsuit, because I feel like this is like an inflection point for Nintendo and how they approach things.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because, like I said, I've talked about this on the podcast before about how copyright is one of the few things that you actually have to defend law-wise. Like, if you don't defend it, you lose it. But this isn't a copyright thing. So, like, it's interesting to me because, to me, I kind of feel like the battle's already been fought. I mean, not for Palworld. They're in hot water and they have to figure out how to make this right. And it sucks to be that company at this particular time. But that being said, the fact that Nintendo is not going after them for copyright, like, that's huge. That's huge to me. Because that means that everybody out there is looking at this like, you know, I could maybe find a way to make a Mario game or like a plumber game. Just as long as I make sure the genre is different enough. You know, I can make them, you know, like they're looking for ways already, and I think that this is interesting. It is the first kind of crack in the armor of Nintendo, you know? So we move on. We only had one comment on episode 255. Episode 255, I didn't expect a ton of comments from you guys because it was just me and Grandpa Gamer kind of talking about the state of WWE 2K. So yeah, but we did get one comment from William Hoon. He says, "Hi!" ! I listened, but man, I have nothing to say about wrestling. Totally agree that games releasing a new version should be on a live service model. I think he meant like a new version annually, because that was a big topic of conversation during that show. And then he said, "Cheers, hashtag I don't know wrestling, dude." Hey, that's fair, man. It's not for everybody. I mean, it is for everybody, but it's not going to get everybody to like it. I understand that. Everybody's things are different. I appreciate you listening to the show. You didn't have to at all. That being said, yeah, I think annualized franchises are a holdover from a time when we could realistically produce that. They are now two things simultaneously, which is, one, probably the worst quality games because of this heightened release schedule, and two, some of the evilest shit in gaming. I personally think they're eviler than some of the microtransactions we have out there, because these games force you to buy a full new $70 game every year. They close down the internet servers of just the game prior, like 5 months into the new game, to force you to pay that extra $70, and then they still fill them with microtransactions after microtransactions. Plus, the quality keeps going down, but you've got to feel like you have to get it to keep up with the Joneses. And I think that I really wish all annualized franchises would stop, or at the very least, stop being an annualized franchise and switch to some sort of subscription model.
The only ones who can do it, I feel like at this point, is Activision with Call of Duty. And that is purely because they have 3 entire developers making that series. So they get a full 3 years to make the game, which, I mean, even if we're being honest, 3 years is kind of pushing it anymore.
I would argue, though, that their quality has definitely slipped. The last 2 games have been terrible. Yeah. Plus, the games that are popular are the free multiplayers that are worked on year-round anyway. Like Warzone, yes, Warzone's map has changed and everything with a lot of games. So it's basically the same thing it was when it first came out, and that's the thing that brings most of the people in, from what I understand. So, like, I don't know. I don't know. I would feel like I understand where you're coming from. I'm not trying to, like, shit all over your point. They do have the most time, but I would still think, like, are they really pulling it off? You know? I'm not so sure.
Well, I think that part of it comes more so from just like a lack of iteration.
Yeah.
Especially at this point now of the Call of Duty games that come out. One of the games every 3 years is just a remake of one of the old Call of Duties. So I think that's more so they have the process down, but the substance is not necessarily anything, because I feel like, too, while they've been able to get those games out on a yearly basis still with 3 companies, if they add anything else into that, it's going to extend that window and further put them into a position to where it's like, hey, like, I don't know if we can do every single year, unless they were to then bring on a 4th team to do Call of Duty. Then at that point, I mean, 3 is even ridiculous. I remember when it was just 2. 2 was even like, whoa, this is crazy, but you know what? Hey, cool beans, I can deal with it. 3 is shenanigans, but they're making it work. 4 is like, it's just unmitigated greed at that point.
It already kind of is, because let's face it, like, first of all, nobody should have to pay for a $70 game every year. You just shouldn't have to keep that game going. Not in 2024.
Xbox Live Ultimate, you don't have to pay anything.
I don't even want to get started on that, Neil. Don't even want to get started on that. At least not yet. But you shouldn't have to. In 2024, if you're making an online multiplayer, whether it be competitive or cooperative, it should have a long tail end. It's got multiplayer. Like, that's what these games are supposed to do. Why are we cutting them off at the knees every year? Plus, the narration is a law of diminishing returns. You get these 2-hour storylines, and let's face it, they have not been good since Modern Warfare 3. They're just not good, and they just keep shoveling them into our face over and over and over again, and it's kind of frustrating. All right, so let's move on to the last one we haven't done fan interaction for. This actually had quite a few comments, and this was our video game movies, which was 256. Me and Neil decided to pitch video game movies. Interested to see what people said about this. Let's get into it. Jason goes, not really super familiar with younger actresses, but someone akin to Rebecca Romijn. Who's the current Rebecca Romijn? Whoever that is should play Samus, not Brie. If the current Rebecca Romijn is Brie Larson, then I don't want the movie anymore. He then says, and I'm sure that these are in the wrong order, Jason. Hans Zimmer is my favorite movie score. Backdraft, The Rock, The Last Samurai are awesome. Lion King, Batman Begins movies. He took over for the Pirates of the Caribbean, Inception, Megamind. Dude has a musical genius on the level of John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith. He'd be great for the Metroid movies. I completely agree. Completely agree. Continuing, we got something to say about this one. Jason says, the cartoon was Captain N, the Game Master. Parentheses, I'm certain Captain N and Teen Wolf are largely responsible for my attraction to Letterman jackets later on in my youth. So, funny story, I found the clip, and that's when I realized it was Captain N. I'm sorry I misspoke. It wasn't whatever I called it. I think it was like Nintendo Power is what I called it. That was the magazine that came out for Nintendo. Yeah. But it was Captain N, the Game Masters, and I actually found a clip of Mother Brain and played it for Neil, and he was like, well, that's interesting.
Yes, that was the most not what I was expecting. Not even remotely close to what Mother Brain looks like, and I'm like, what?
Dude, I was so confused when I watched the Game Grumps play through Super Metroid with the Completionist, and they got to the Mother Brain. I was like, what is that? That's not Mother Brain. Like, that's what's so funny is every time you talk about Metroid, because of my youth, that's all I hear is like, King Hippo! Ah! Like, that's what I hear in my head. I just do. Like, that's Mother Brain to me. Moving on, Jason goes, Brie Larson is an awful actress. Definitely not Samus. Absolutely not. No. So they really didn't like Brie Larson.
A lot of people don't like her.
A lot of people don't. I've never seen her in anything that I've been like, oh, she was awesome in that. You know what I mean? Like, that's my only issue with her. She just comes off kind of emotionless to me when she's in the movie, I guess. Continuing, Jason says, a 2-book series is a duology. I don't see why a 2-movie series can't be a duology. A double feature doesn't necessarily need to be linked at all, though often of the same gear, just shown at the same venue back to back. Yes. Yes. There you go. There's the professor being the professor. And then finally we have William Owen. Hi! Exclamation point. Listening right now. Can't wait to see who Neil's pick for Samus actress. Yes, for Ridley Scott. Ridley, get it?
Yeah, I thought about that too. I thought about making a comment about that, but
a huge no from me for Samus, though. I don't have much other names to give, to be honest. From what I know, Samus is super tall. What about the actress who played Brienne in... I don't know Games of Thrones. Brienne. Brienne. There's no A there. There should be whatever. I'm not gonna whatever. Game of Thrones. I don't know any current addresses. He doesn't like it. As for Zach's idea, sounds like a fun movie, but I've never heard of the game. Yeah, I know. Look it up on the internet, Will. It's a fun time. I have to go for Metroid, but not with Brie. I would love to see a live-action movie of Wanted Dead by the John Wick team, basically. That would be an awesome movie, man. That would be an awesome movie. Wanted Dead is a game that kind of bombed, but William Hoon was a huge fan of it. It's from the Ninja Gaiden team. Yeah, that would be an awesome John Wick. He says, thanks for the show. # video games movies. You know what? Other video game movie I almost pitched for that one? Do you know what The Devil's Third is?
I know of it.
I almost pitched that because that's the most ridiculous, over-the-top, insane fucking game you'll ever play in your life.
You would bring in two different crowds, though. You would bring in the people who know of the game and are like, "Oh my god, what, are they serious?" Or you would bring in the people who know nothing about anything, watch it, and see it as one of those like crazy ass sort of like cult movies. It
is a movie about a Russian I don't even know if I can describe it. It's like Metal Gear Solid if Metal Gear Solid took a bunch of mushrooms and then did steroids. That's what it's like.
That's a good descriptor.
The main character is a Russian named Ivan who never has a shirt on. Never, ever, ever, and is covered in tattoos and never takes his sunglasses off. There's a button to smoke. There is just tons of insane guns. He also has katanas for some reason. The main bad guy is a samurai who wants to start a nuclear war. There's also mutant creatures. It is one of the craziest fucking games you'll ever see in your life. But The Devil's Third, I would love to pitch that. Just pitch the most craziest fucking movie that has ever existed in the world. Like, right off the bat, your disbelief has just got to go out of the window because he's going to jump out of a plane without a shirt on, and it's not going to matter. Okay, so that's it. That's all the fan traction. We're done with fan traction, man. It only took us 42 fucking minutes.
You know.
I do want to say thank you to everybody for commenting. We always appreciate it. We appreciate you waiting till we got around to it. We're going to be back with just an extended news segment and talk about some of the stuff going on.
Boy, howdy is there news.
And and then we'll probably call it for the day. So we'll be right back with that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the news. Neo likes to collect smaller news stories that don't necessarily make our talking point, although we don't have a talking point today. So he's been on vacation for 2 weeks. He's done some news collecting. I also have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. And we're just going to kind of shoot from the hip today because a lot of stuff happened in the last 3 weeks. We're going to just try and touch on everything we remember.
So I actually I want to start with the one that you sent me about Bandai Namco.
Yeah, let's get that terrible one out of the way.
Yeah, so Bandai Namco is apparently sending people into rooms where they have nothing to do in hopes that they quit. Mm-hmm. This comes after Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero came out and has basically been an absolute phenomenon. It's one of the best-selling games that Bandai Namco has ever made and like the best-selling Dragon Ball game that's ever come out. It's everything that everybody has ever wanted from a Dragon Ball fighting game after Dragon Ball Fighters. Like, it's by all accounts good and great. And Bandai Namco is trying to reduce staff anyways. I think they cut some people, but they're sending all these people into rooms with nothing to do. They've canceled some projects too. I mean, I know the tech, especially the gaming industry, is not doing great right now, but this is absolutely ridiculous.
It is such a breath of fresh air to, for a change, get to talk about some terrible practices that aren't happening in American gaming. They're happening in a different country for a change. So Japan has some laws, which this is some stupid shit. Japan has laws against people being fired or laid off. Like you can't just like mass lay off people there. I am not sure on the specifics. Okay, I just read the article, so I have kind of a basic understanding as anybody else who would read the article. But they have these kind of laws against that, which, hey, good job on that. Problem is they don't have any laws that says that the people who employ you can't just stick you in a room with no Wi-Fi and nothing going on until you quit. So basically it's like being paid to be in prison. Not even just prison, like solitary confinement. They are actually referred to as exclusion rooms. They get sent there. They are just like windowless, empty rooms without even a chair to sit in. There is no Wi-Fi. There is nothing you could do. You just have to sit in these rooms for 9 straight hours while they hope and pray you decide to leave so that they don't have to pay you severance and shit. This is some evil shit. I don't think that there's anybody out there, regardless of whatever you may or may not believe in or subscribe to, that does not think that this is some evil shit that they're doing. Like, this is just some dark Roman level evil shit that Bandai Namco is doing. And I'm not gonna lie, this is one of, like, very rarely do I go, I'm not going to buy games from them anymore because of this. I don't think I'm going to be purchasing a Bandai Namco game anytime soon. This, to me, and maybe this is just because of the way my brain works and like how I kind of feel in situations like that, that would be like suicide, but worse. Like, that would be awful. To sit in an empty room for 9 hours with nothing would be just like, oh, that would be terrible. So, like, I don't know. This is just some evil, terrible shit across the board, especially when they do have a hit game that's selling like gangbusters. It's very frustrating.
See,
and a lot of this is to avoid paying severance. Just pay these people severance and lay them off. You know what I mean? This is just some to me, this is borderline human rights violations at this point.
See, I come at this from a completely different angle. For me, it's like, okay, bet. Let's have a battle of wills. Go ahead and pay me for 8-9 hours a day to sit in a room and do nothing. I'll do whatever my job is at night, stay up all night, do that, and when it's time to go to work, just go to bed.
I mean, I guess that's fair. Neil, I'm going to 100% appreciate where you're coming from. I do think, though, that has a finite lifespan. I think sleeping on a cold, empty floor for 9 hours a day would get to you pretty fast. And I don't get me wrong, I appreciate the size of the fight in the dog. I just think that, like, the situation, God, that'd just be worse.
It's also like a cultural thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, Americans widely regarded as lazy. Believe me, if I could find a way to do something like that, I'd be on it like that in an instant.
I don't know,
but it's a completely different thing. Yeah, forcing people to quit is never a good thing. Working in the restaurant industry previously, you and I have both seen that sort of stuff, how they will try to force people out because if they fire them, then they have to pay unemployment.
Yep.
But that's the same thing from a different angle. But the fact that they canceled a bunch of projects, one of them from the article you'd sent was like Nintendo, like in collaboration with the Nintendo, so who knows what that could have even been. Who knows what else could have been going on in there. It sucks. It just straight up and down sucks.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it. If you can't run a business without mentally torturing people, like, you shouldn't have a business. It's just that simple. I can't. Nobody could defend this to me. You just can't. Like if you can't figure out a way to lay people off within the confines of whatever business entity and government you exist in, then you shouldn't have that business. If your only answer is let's mentally torture these people for 9 hours, then there's no. I don't like. Yeah, there's nothing else to say. This is terrible ass shit. So let's move on.
Speaking of things that cannot be explained, the next one I will go on to is one that you and I sent each other an article about 9 hours apart.
Oh, I think I know this one.
Nintendo made a big hardware announcement. Nintendo has made a $100 alarm clock to gamify sleep. I guess. So to put this into context too, I don't know if you know this part or not. This thing was began development when Satoru Iwata was still alive.
Oh, wow.
That's when this started. So this thing has been in the oven for a while. They had time to figure this out. It is called the Nintendo Alarmo. Now, if somehow you have not heard about this thing, I will tell you what it is. It is a $100 Nintendo alarm clock that has a special sensor on it to where it will play your alarm quietly that's like themed after like 5 different games, and it will slowly gradually get louder, and as you wake up it will like make sounds to be like, oh yeah, you're getting up, great, and then once you actually get out of bed, then it like shuts the alarm off. But if you don't get out of bed after a certain period of time, like it just starts getting more aggressive until you wake up. This thing's got special proprietary sensors built into it to monitor your sleep and everything. Sounds great. It can only be used by a single person. So if you share a bed with another human...
I was going to comment on this.
If you share a bed with another human being, you cannot use the features of the Nintendo Alarmo, and it is then just a $100 Nintendo alarm clock.
Man, I have so much to say and so little.
Is this better or worse than Labo?
Oh, Cardboard to Kids for $100.
Yeah. Is this better or worse?
I'm gonna say better. I don't think that anybody is. It's gonna be. You're gonna be hard pressed to convince me that selling cardboard to kids for $100 a pop is better than anything. That being said, this is pretty stupid. Like, I'm not arguing for Alarmo. I would say that. I would also say that, like, just on a side note, can we stop trying to gamify sleep? We got gamify, like, just sleep, man. Well, everybody needs
Pokemon. Sleep. They got Pokemon Sleep now.
Yeah, the Pokemon Sleep where it's like you collect your sleep Pokemon sleep decks. I'm like, man, maybe we should not be thinking about how much work we're going to do while we're not awake. Like, can we just be asleep for face it, like the 6 to 7 hours that the average adult person gets, because I certainly don't get more than that. I think everybody else gets probably less. Can we just be asleep for that? Do we actually have to be like, oh, I gotta figure out if I got Snorlax? Like, just fucking be asleep. The same with Alarmo. This Alarmo, like, I don't understand. Like, Nintendo, yeah, I don't know. I have so much to say, and I don't know how to articulate it.
Because there's no words for what it is that they're selling. I mean,
the dumbest thing.
It is
the fact that you cannot use the features if you sleep in a bed with somebody else. So you are expecting children to spend $100 for this alarm clock, which they would get no benefit from because they're children, and children don't need to be waking up slowly. Everything a child does is like instantaneously. They just run around until they pass out just instantaneously, and then they wake up out of a cold fever dream like, let's fucking play. Like, that's how kids are. As a dad, like, adults need to be waking up slowly and get into the mode and get into the rhythm. But, like, yeah, I'm not saying there's not single adults, but, like, I want to meet the guy who's like, I'm sorry, I just can't be in a relationship right now because I'm too attached to my Nintendo alarm.
Bro, I just spent $100 on this alarm clock. No, it's actually probably going to be stupider than that. What it's going to be is they're going to make like 1,000 of these fucking things. Mm-hmm. They're going to get bought, put on eBay, and then it's going to be even worse because there's going to be people who have spent $300, $400, $500 on a fucking alarm clock that they're then going to have to just like, I don't know, break up with their boyfriends / girlfriends just because they have an alarm clock that can only read one person. I just cannot. And the fact that it was so long in development, man.
Dude.
So long in development.
How many things got put in the trash that fell off the cutting room floor while fucking Alarmo is just like dead marching through blizzards and firestorms. Like, fucking insane. Fucking insane. We gotta move on. I can't talk about this stupidity anymore.
All right.
We gotta pick at least different stupidity.
Okay. Well, because we're talking about Nintendo, I'm just gonna glom on next one here.
Go for it.
Nintendo is no longer printing physical copies of Metroid Dread because reasons. Eventually, all games stop getting their physical copies printed, but it is unknown why they have stopped printing the physical copies of the game.
I can tell you why.
I mean, well, it's just Nintendo.
You and I both
Nintendo
know
shit.
why. Yeah, it's Nintendo. They stopped printing them as
shit.
fast as possible so that they can like release it for like 10 days in like 10 years. And everybody goes crazy for it. It's the same with the Mario stuff and every other.
The Mario stuff, and have you seen too? Those Mario games are going for like $100+.
Of course, because they're not selling them anymore.
Because they're not selling. Yeah, they're not selling them anymore.
This is how Nintendo likes to do things with their games. They love to do this, and then in another 10 years, they'll be like, another Mario Galaxy. We added 3 more notes to the theme song, and then but we're only going to print like 50 of them. Like that's how they love to do this.
Never be in your favor.
Right, it's the same with the fucking Nintendo Classics and the Super Nintendo Classics. Like, ridiculous. This is Nintendo-ass Nintendo stuff. And Metroid, whether Nintendo wants to admit it or not, Metroid is one of their seminal franchises. I would argue one of their only truly adult franchises. So, like, I would say that that's exactly what they're doing here. They're putting it in the bank, and then they're going to wait. And then, like, Metroid, anniversary.
The 50th anniversary.
The 50th anniversary. Be like, well, now you got a collection with Dread, but we're only going to make, like, 20 of them.
Good luck, fuckers.
Good luck, fuckers. Exactly.
So, in what has now become a continuing story about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, this fucking thing. I'm so glad this is on here.
It's getting even shittier.
I have never gotten so mad at a company that I used to love.
It is getting even shittier now. So the Horizon Zero Dawn upgrade is not actually available in all regions.
This isn't even what I thought you were going to say.
No, this is even something entirely different. I didn't read the article on the other thing, but I have a general idea what you're talking about, so you can follow up with this. Because I didn't read the whole thing, so I don't want to speak too much on it. But this one here, the Horizon Zero Dawn upgrade is not available in all regions. So what is happening is it is locking people out of purchasing the upgrade, forcing them to purchase a whole nother version of the game.
Yep.
To make it even worse, the original version is no longer available to purchase at all. So as a result, people may not even have access to play the game anymore. So like they can't go in and buy it anywhere. And go ahead with your thing, because I believe I know what you're about to say.
Oh, and this new upgraded version, this new remastered version, there's more people in the cities. That's what they said. They said one of our big improvements is there's more people in the cities, so that it's got a more lived-in feel. Really? That's why I have to buy the whole fucking new game again, so that there's more pedestrians walking around me?
I was going to say, because if there's one thing about Horizon that I absolutely loved was spending time in cities, not hunting robot dinosaurs.
Right. Horizon Zero Dawn came out. It was kind of, I wouldn't even say it was a runaway success. It was a cult classic, in my opinion, because it got kind of its ass handed to it by Zelda, because it came out at the same time Breath of the Wild did. That being said, Guerrilla Games had an original IP that was cool, that was interesting. I enjoyed it. They have managed to take a giant dump all over that game and that whole world. They were like, oh, you guys like it? We'll make 42 games out of it. We'll remaster it 30 times. We'll take it away from you. Like, we'll delay the original project like 6 times. We'll make some weird story elements in there. Just all sorts of weird story elements in there. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. And it was the original game is so good, and like they have kind of Guerrilla Games has just kind of undone every good piece of stuff to that game over the course of time. You know?
Yeah, why are we doing it? That's my thing. Is I can understand a remaster of a game that was on PS2, on PS3, something like that, bringing it over. This is a PS4 game that got a bumped up version on the PS5, like an update for the PS5 or PS4 Pro anyways. Mm-hmm. Why do we need an entire edition for it? There's no reason for it other than squeezing more blood from the stone for those individuals who already have it. Like, I will not be going and purchasing the $10 upgrade for this game.
Nor should they be trying to get more blood out of them. They've got 3 new games coming out. Like, come on, man. Like, yeah, this is ridiculous. And the fact that they basically made it impossible for people to not get the original is shameless, in my opinion. Shameless.
So
can I do one? Can I do one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I only got the one, but I want to talk about this a little bit with you. And I don't think that we're going to spend an entire amount of time on it because I was considering it for a talking point. But what the fuck is with cooperative PvE games nerfing everything? So this has been a big thing, and it was a huge problem with Borderlands, which I've talked about on here a ton. But it was kind of regulated to Borderlands in a lot of ways. Helldivers is now at a mixed to poor review on Steam because they just keep nerfing their shit. And now Space Marine 2 is down to a mixed review, which this game was a hit. It was a runaway hit. It came out while we were on vacation. And it's been killing it. That Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, I think you'll agree. It's been all over IGN.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it.
But just now, they nerfed all the fucking guns again. And, like, a bunch of people actually went on. And one of the comments that I absolutely loved was this real sarcastic comment where the guy was just like, "Oh, man, thanks. I really didn't want to feel powerful in my power fantasy game. Why nerf?" And what's even weirder is when they got all this hate, they doubled down on it. They were like, we'll keep monitoring it, but this is where we want the game right now. I'm like, you want the game at mixed review? Like, it's this weird thing where the game comes out, everybody loves it, and then they almost like beat it down and try to kind of get people to not play it. And I don't understand the point of this,
My thought has always been, if there is any sort of ranking system, be it like in a multiplayer versus match, or if it's something that like you could get like a certification or something of like I know like Halo did weapon certifications as time went on. If you did that sort of thing where there's ranks or things to level up, nerfing things makes sense, even if it's PvE. But if it's just like more points, like, bro, your threshold is what your threshold is. If anything, don't nerf the weapon, set your thresholds for success higher. Yes. Like that, you don't want to take the power away, you make the goals loftier.
Right. Or if your problem is like too many people are playing this type of character, make the other type of character better. Don't nerf the type of character that people love. Like, one of the things they nerfed was a parry timing. Like, I guess the ultimate parry timing was easier to hit, so almost everybody was playing, like, melee characters. Okay, cool. But, like, if that's your problem, why take away their parry? Instead, give the people some reason to play the other stuff that's cool, I don't understand why the first thought isn't buffs. Like, even to the enemies, like, buff the enemies. You know what I mean? Like, why take away somebody's, play style? Like, and that was my biggest problem with Borderlands, is I would make a build, and I'd be really happy with that build, and then they'd take away the potential for that build to work in any way, shape, or form, you know? And like, I think even Philbilly got frustrated with it, because we all know Philbilly is the build master for a reason. Some of his builds on this channel have been the most viewed things we've ever had here. I'm pretty sure almost all of those builds are null and void now, because it's like Borderlands caught wind of it and nerfed the powers down. What is the point of that? Why are you doing that? Like, it's just like giving us cake and then taking it away after we take one bite. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's just become this weird trend with PvE games where they do this, where they just start nerfing instead of like buffing, and it's stupid to me, and I don't understand where it came from. And I also, it's indicative of gaming and their inability, and this is a smaller time, like Saber isn't small time, but they're smaller when compared to some other companies. Like, it's the same thing as like Warner Brothers failing at a games of service game and going, you know what we need? More games of service games. Like, what is with this death march of perpetual stupidity that the gaming industry continues to do lately?
Yeah, it does defy any sort of logic. Like, if they gave us a reason other than, it's just what we want, like, it would probably make sense.
Yeah.
But it just smacks of just because, or because I said so, you know, like.
We didn't want it that way ever. Like, you're having fun with this? No.
That's a problem.
Find a new way to play. Yeah, it's so frustrating. All right, back to you, man. I just wanted to get that in there.
So, lots of Halo information. I don't know if you saw this or not.
I've seen some Halo information. I'm not sure all of it.
So first off, Halo Infinite is going to be getting a third-party option for multiplayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, which I found very interesting because, I mean, Halo's always been that mix of first and third. The third only shows up when you have specific weapons or you're in like a vehicle. Otherwise, it's completely first person. Not anymore. This is going to change things up. Also, they are completely abandoning the Slipspace engine. Shocker. In favor of Unreal.
I did see this. Did see this.
And I believe I saw something too that 343 is actually just going to be changing their name. I couldn't find Studios. To Halo Studios, yes. Yeah. Which, sure, whatever. But I don't know. At this point, with how Halo 5 was, according to a lot of the fans, not necessarily great. I personally loved it. Wasn't my favorite, but it was good enough for me. Halo Infinite wound up being something of a disappointment for a lot of people. A lot of hardcore, long time. I mean, for shit's sake, it's one of the first closed betas I ever got into, and I felt so special and had so much hope for it the whole time because I was like, this is early. This is a build based off an older, so you know, it's fine, totally fine. You know, we'll fix it in post sort of situation, and they really haven't done that, and then it's gotten progressively worse, and they've just basically all but scrapped so many different things, basically even confirming too in all of this information that the Battle Royale mode got scrapped, which we all kind of figured was going to happen anyway.
Which should have been in the game, would have revitalized it. I think that, first of all, talking about each one of these individually, I love that these motherfuckers took years to make that engine, and they're already like, fuck that engine, we're done. So you've wasted, so 343, just so that everybody knows, 343's contributions to Halo so far have been a Halo 4. No, they didn't do, did they do Halo 4? They did Halo 4.
They did 4, yes. 4 was Halo their 4, first.
Their first. Then they did the remake to Reach, right?
Well, Reach is an odd bird. Reach was made by Bungie, but partway through, the keys to the kingdom were handed over to 343.
Right, but then 343 redid a bunch of stuff because we talked about it.
Yeah, they had been doing a lot of updates. The port over to the Master Chief Collection was wholly through.
Yeah, so it's been 4. the mistakes to Reach, the Slipspace engine, which is done, Halo 5, and now Halo Infinite. I'm gonna say 1 for 6. Like, and the name change, which brings me to the name change. They might as well be being like, well, instead of 343, we're gonna name ourselves. Hey, we swear we make good games. It's a complete branding thing. So because 343 has so much bad connotation now with gamers, and it's a joke. Like, the brand is a joke because they've made it a joke. So they need to change it to something else so that people aren't laughing at them right out the door.
And there's a lot of rumors too with this changeover to Unreal that Halo is finally going to be jumping over the platform, that they're going to put it on PlayStation.
They will.
At this point, yeah, it would be idiotic for them to not. There was a point in time where I would fight somebody if they said that it's going to go onto another platform. But at this point, like, they have serious damage control that they have to do with Halo. I mean, longtime players have been hemorrhaging. It's just, I haven't heard people say good things. I work with the guy who, I think I've told you very briefly before. He does competitive, like, he travels to the tournaments. He will get on a plane and go to these tournaments and take place in them. He has been diehard Halo for life. And even he is like, Infinite is whole trash.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, more so than that, Microsoft has already showed their hand. They have no interest in exclusivity. The things that you paid for on Game Pass don't matter anymore because they got the Activision deal through. So, like, everything that Microsoft sells is going to start going everywhere, and people just need to get used to that. Like, the idea that you're paying for exclusivity in Game Pass is gone. Even if you're paying the Ultimate, you're not playing for exclusivity. It's going to be on PlayStation 2. PlayStation players are going to get to play it. Like I said, I'm still going to be surprised if within the next 5 years we don't see Game Pass on PlayStation. I think that was always the goal of Microsoft. That's the only reason they had exclusives. Microsoft does not want... There's a reason Microsoft bought Minecraft and didn't even consider taking it off everywhere else. And that is that they've always wanted to be in everybody's space. They are a software game. Like, Sony's still playing the hardware game. Microsoft has been playing the software game for a while, and they've been kind of putting a big fake board in front of themselves that tells you that they're playing the hardware game when they're not, and that's their consoles.
Well, actually, just to kind of, because we're bringing this up now, I'm going to actually kind of dovetail into one of the other things that's to your point.
Okay.
Microsoft is actually going to be letting you stream games that you already own from an Xbox console, regardless of if they're on Game Pass. So as long as you've purchased the game and have rightful ownership to it, you can play it. I mean, that is the first step in expanding out from streaming just what is available to stream through that Project X Cloud. From there, if this goes well, then okay, maybe we'll open up the streaming a little bit more, and then from there, that's when the PlayStation games show up, and you can just stream those games through an Xbox or through a PlayStation console. You're not, I mean, eventually, you know, they're all going to come to the console physically, but I mean, it's baby steps. We're getting there. We're like 5 years away from that endpoint.
Yeah, and that's definitely Microsoft's goal. Microsoft wants to be Netflix, not Blockbuster. And I think that that's what they have proved over the last thing. The tricky thing is they keep doing things that are like, oh, no, we're definitely still in the hardware game, because they still want to be spoken about in the same breath as Sony and Nintendo. So I understand that, but they're not in the hardware game. Of your Game Pass subscription, the cheapest one is on PC. You can play almost all of your Game Pass things through xCloud, which can be accessed through a TV with a controller. Like, they are not in the hardware business anymore. They're in the software business. The hardware thing is a front, basically, to make people think they're in the hardware business, because they want their cake and they eat it too. But this is what they're doing. This is what they always wanted. They always want all their shit on all the game consoles. They don't want to be competing with Sony. They want to own Sony from the inside out. And that's what they're going to do. You know, there's nothing to stop them now.
So moving along here, we talked about the law that's going to be introduced in California here.
Yeah.
Basically going out of their way saying, hey, if you're purchasing a digital game, just letting you know that you're purchasing a license. Mm-hmm. Well, Steam has actually just recently made an update here to whenever you purchase a digital game, it goes out of its way to let you know that you are purchasing just a license for a game and not an actual game. Funny then that GOG is going out of their way to let everybody know, purchase that game and you download that game, you have that game on your console, we cannot go in and rip it away from you. So good on them for kind of putting their foot down on that. I mean, I'm sure they're going to find a way, the publishers will find a way to build like a kill switch in to where when you download the game, you know, they already have it like built in with stuff that's all like server based anyways. So, I mean, but they'll have a way to where, when you connect your computer to the internet, it'll automatically do a check-in at home and just like auto self-destruct the game if, you know, we remove it. But I mean, it's something.
Yeah, it is. And I do like that. I think at the end of the day, though, like everybody needs to start saying, hey, this is a license. Like, this is a license. If Steam vanishes tomorrow, you probably won't be able to play these games anymore. You know, you certainly won't be able to maintain them because they require updates weekly and sometimes monthly. So I think that it is a bummer, but that is the world we live in, and that's fine. You just need to tell us. You know, you need to tell us up front what it is, because there are people who are not as up and current in gaming. Gaming, you know, pulls a lot of people in that are casual, don't listen to this podcast, don't watch IGN for news stories, don't do stuff like that. They need to be let known that they're not actually purchasing a game. This isn't like a digital thing that's just going to live on your hard drive for the most part. It's a thing that you just get to play while Steam exists, you know?
Exactly. Well, kind of in the same vein, I'm trying to group together what I can in some of these because, like I said, I have a ton of these.
It's all good.
I'm actually going to combine two of them into one to go along with that. So, according to an article from Ars Technica, they've actually went through and taken a look at the cost of game piracy in the industry. 20% it costs in sales to piracy of games.
Interesting.
Which you know, we really like to shit on the companies, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's true. If they can't make money from the games, or at least an appropriate amount of money and not like literally every red cent that anybody has, to be absolutely clear. But, you know, if they can't make money, they can't make sales, the company can't continue, and you can't get more games, which is also part of the reason why they're not taking risks on things anymore, because, you know, it has to sell well enough. So very interesting that
20% is a lot.
20% is a lot.
I would definitely like to see their metric for what piracy is. Like, does this include like family share stuff, or does this include, you know what I mean? Like, I would really want to see the full thing. Like, is this 20% is being lost from people actually like stealing the games, you know, or is this every way you can get a game for free?
I would like to believe that this is purely just people like cracking a game,
right?
And not like, oh, you bought it secondhand, that's a loss, you didn't buy a new one.
Right.
So funny then, this was like 2 days after this article came out. Denuvo decided it was going to be a really good idea to open a Discord server. And they invited everybody in the gaming community to join and talk about games. The server lasted 2 days before they took it offline because everybody went on there to just shit all over them. All over them. Yeah, because I mean, if you've ever had a game with Denuvo or you've ever had to experience anything with it, Denuvo is whole trash. It'll use like all your PC's resources just to make sure that you're not stealing a game. So you can have one of the best built computers out there, and it means literally 100% nothing because the anti-piracy software is just wreaking all manner of havoc on your system. And of course, people let them know about it, which I find absolutely hilarious. Also, what did they think was going to happen?
Yeah.
I've never heard somebody speak a good thing about Denuvo.
Back on the piracy thing, I do agree that 20% is a lot, but there still has to be like some accountability for prices and stuff, like,
oh yeah, 100%.
Like, I don't want gaming to use this as an excuse. Like, well, 20% of piracy, that's why we've raised prices so much. I'm like, okay, chill out, champs. Like, you still have to be at a place where people are willing to spend the money, and we are still at a place in our country where not a lot of people have a lot of money to just drop on video games. And I think that them going up still isn't like, you're still not, maybe to account for that, spend less on the game in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't need an entire team to go look at horse testicles.
Right.
And program them going, based off of how cold it is outside.
Yeah.
That sort of shit makes no fucking sense. No earthly sense to me at all.
There's not one person that put down Red Dead Redemption 2 because they didn't think the horse testicles were going to be realistic. There's also not one person...
the horseball graphics? I'm here for the horseball graphics.
There's nobody who bought that game like, these horse balls better be great. Like, it's ridiculous. It's an absolutely ridiculous expenditure that we don't need in any way, shape, or form. 100%. The same with Forza Horizon 3 sent out people like for 300 days to sit in the wilderness and take pictures of the fucking sky. Like, I don't need the sky to look that good in my racing game, guys. I'm not looking at the sky. I'm looking at the car. Like, it's just fucking... They're silly expenditures that we don't need, just to say we could,
Right. So, moving along here... one that we did end up missing actually before we went on break. I think it was a weird timing thing. So this is kind of old hat, but worth bringing up. I don't know if you had heard about this. Microsoft is sending out surveys to developers asking why they don't want to put games on their consoles. So they're aware that there's a problem. I mean... I think Exhibit A is just, here is the internet. Search yourself in news.
Yeah. I think that Microsoft also has extremely rigid certification process, which has caused a lot of problems for developers. In addition to that, I mean, just like 2-3 weeks ago, we were talking about how... that one Souls-like, that Italian Souls-like was coming out, and they were like, we wanted to put it on Xbox. They wouldn't call us back. Like that kind of shit is... Like, that's why you don't have games. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's that, and... I mean, another glaring issue was what kept Baldur's Gate 3 from coming out, in a regular period of time, is they have to have console parity. Because for some reason, we want to have a budget level system and like a base actual console with the Series S. Everybody complains about the Series S and how impossible it is to develop a next gen, or now at this point current gen, game for that console. It is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think they should go over the top like PlayStation and charge like fucking insane amounts of money for their systems? No. But I think that like there is a balance in between this where we have like just a good system that is relatively purchasable and we don't have to worry about this parody thing, you know?
Yeah. So I got 2 more left.
All right, let's do it.
So the executive producers for the God of War series over at Amazon have all left.
Heard about that, yeah.
And as a result, the project is being completely started over from scratch. What I found interesting about this is I was under the impression when we first heard about this that it was going to be, a series. But then they announced that, what is it, the next level or whatever that series is that they're going to do, that's going to have a God of War story in it. Mm-hmm. I thought that's what it was just a weird leak, and it was like it's not a whole series, it's just one episode.
Logical thought
apparently process. Apparently there's 2. So there's that God of War story and the series itself, which I think they should have done that one story first to test the waters. At this point they may as well just wait to do anything with the project until they see how this show goes. But yeah, very interesting. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff going on with those because there was the Horizon. We talked about the Horizon Zero Dawn series lost its creator, I think it was, a little while ago too. So, I mean, that project is in the shit.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, I don't have much to say about this. I saw it. I think that project is in the shit, and we'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah. So, last one. Nintendo actually has announced a new Joy-Con charger stand. Official Nintendo Joy-Con charger stand. Teensy-weensy little problem with that. When they put it online, they accidentally listed it for... So... Everybody went and bought this thing once they realized.
You cut out for a second. They listed it for what?
Free. $0.00. So when they put it online for pre-order for sale, everybody bought it at no dollars. So great deal, right? And of course, Nintendo is not honoring their mistake and is canceling all the orders, which, if you go into a store, 90% of the time, if you go into the store and you see something labeled a specific way and it doesn't ring up that way, you say, hey, when I was back at the stand, it said ABC XYZ, or this was the price. And they'll get in on their little intercom and do a price check, or honestly, nowadays, they'll just say, sure, whatever, and hit the buttons and give it to you at that price. But there'll be some sort of honor of that when you're at a store. And there have been other companies in the past that have been like, wow, we fucked up. Oh, well, our mistake, it's been rectified, and still honor everything. But, doing that sort of stuff is like, oh, come on, don't be a bitch. Like, you fucked up. Come on.
I think free is pretty severe. I agree with you, but I will also say that if I were to go into a store and something was marked free, they're not letting me walk out of there with it free if it's not supposed to be free. I think that they should still do something. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to honor the freeness, which I kind of get, because everybody went on there and got that thing. So, like, probably 50% of their orders were the free ones, Yeah. At least give them like 25% off or something. Maybe even give them a coupon, give them some Nintendo points. Something. Like, make some sort of like...
Have them pay for it, but then give them a credit back on their Nintendo account of that exact amount.
Well, and that's the thing, because half of them aren't even going to use all that, like, because it's digital money. So, like, I feel like that's the way you go. Something along those lines. There's ways to fix this that you could have done it without just being like, no,
no, that's not fair.
It's not what it is. So that was, you said, your last one.
That was my last one.
That was a gauntlet of news.
That was a gauntlet. That was a whole gauntlet of news. That was like 3 weeks worth of news.
It was.
So
it was a lot. I feel like we still missed stuff, honestly.
Oh yeah,
we didn't even touch on that partnership program, that partnership showcase that Xbox did. that fucking IGN jerked off all over, and I was like,
I didn't even know they did a partnership showcase.
Yeah, they did a partnership showcase, and there was literally nothing in it that looked even remotely interesting to me.
They have 4 more farming simulators.
No, it was like 4 more Souls-likes. Like it's like Souls-likes everywhere, man. Everything's Elden Ring. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break, guys. We'll be right back with the shameless self-promotion. Yeah.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, what would you like to plug?
We are still plugging away with Ordo Scriptorum. Yeah. Things are getting great. I cannot wait for the second season to come out because I really do. We keep talking about this. I feel like it's so much different than the first season. The first season was us just kind of figuring our shit out, and now we have like characters with thoughts and feelings.
Thoughts and feelings.
Thoughts and feelings. Yeah. Motivations. I'm over here, like, when we were recording last, I had even said, like, something to the effect of, like, I personally 100% would not do anything remotely close to this. However, my character would.
It has been fun. It has been fun because you just think that the relationships are going to stay the same, and then in this one, it's like, I feel like Preston's everybody's best friend that nobody wants to admit. Which has been like great. Like even Elliot and him have been bonding in weird moments, and it's just like oh, this is so much better than I thought it was going to be.
All I'll tell you
the whole time.
All I'll tell everybody is second season. Make sure you're caught up on the Fast and Furious movies.
Liddy. And Kayla's angst that we all wanted to hit on the NPC immediately when she appeared. It's like everybody was like rushing over each other to try and hit on the NPC. Yeah, I'm going to try and get the first episode out before Halloween. I'm shooting for this Saturday. I can't promise that, but that's the goal. If we can get the third episode recorded when we have planned, which is this Wednesday, on the same day that this goes live, then I will endeavor to put the first episode up on Saturday. I just can't promise that at this particular juncture as much as I want to, but I know Wiz like desperately wants me to put it up before Halloween passes, which I understand. That being said, check out that. We have a lot of TTRPG stuff on the channel. If you're in any way, shape, or form into tabletop role-playing games, we also do that here. And I would say we do that fairly decently. So check those out. We've got a lot more of those coming as well. On the video game side, if I might promote something for a second, I played Observation Duty with my wife. I'm on observation duty and for the spooky season. They're okay, but episode 3 of that it's coming out on November 3rd. Not one anybody wants to miss. It was one of the funniest experiences I've ever had in a game, so check that one out. And then, we've got everything else. We've got the podcasts. We've got the Let's Plays. We've got streams. I'm streaming Tuesdays. So, yeah, check out all of that stuff and everything here on the channel. Reviews, just anything you can think of, we have it. Other than that, you can reach me on Facebook at OldManGamingDH. You can also reach me on X at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. Influence this in all of our shows from there. And as usual, as long as you guys keep watching and listening, we will keep making them. We'll see you guys next week. Oh my God. That was a gauntlet of news right there.
That was a gauntlet.
Absolutely.
Even I am like, Jesus Christ, how many fucking more of these do I have?
Dude, that was a lot. If people didn't stick with us on that, I would like get it. Like if somebody was like, wait, they're still going? I got other stuff to listen to. Like I was like, well, this is going to be a short show, and we've been on here for like an hour and 20 minutes and didn't even get a talking point. Like, holy, I had to do a cough drop. Like on camera, like I had to do a cough drop because I'm like, oh my God, I don't have words anymore to say.
I kept scrolling down, and I'm like, wait, what is this? Oh, shit, we never talked about that either. God damn it.
Not another one. No. Oh, crap. All right. Let's do the plugs. Be done. Going in 3, 2, 1.